this 80-year-old woman walked into court barely able to stand. But when she opened her mouth, even the judge had to fight back tears. And what happened next? No one in that courtroom was prepared for it. The cameras were already rolling as the doors swung open. Slowly, carefully, an elderly woman stepped inside. Her name was Margaret Holloway, 80 years old. Widow. No children, no family present. She wore a faded floral dress, pressed neatly but clearly worn from years of use. Her silver hair was pulled back into a loose bun, and in her trembling hand, a wooden cane that looked older than most people in the room. Now here's the first thing that caught everyone's attention. She wasn't looking around, not nervously, not curiously, not even confused. She walked in like someone who had already made peace with something. And that, right there, is always a signal, because people who are scared, they look for exits. People who are guilty, they avoid eye contact. But people who have nothing left to lose, they walk in exactly like this, calm, quiet, almost resolved. The bailiff called the case. A small claims dispute, unpaid rent, $2,541 cessable, routine. The kind of case that usually ends in 10 minutes. But if you've watched enough courtrooms unfold, you already know. The simplest cases often hide the deepest stories. Margaret slowly lowered herself into the defendant's chair. Across from her sat the plaintiff, a man in his early 40s, sharply dressed, arms folded tight across his chest, Daniel Reeves, her landlord. Now watch this closely. From the very first second, Daniel didn't look at Margaret. Not once. He kept his eyes forward, jaw clenched, posture rigid. And here's where things get interesting. That kind of body language. It's not anger, it's control, the kind of control people use when they're trying not to react. Because reacting would reveal something. And the judge noticed it too. She leaned forward slightly, observing, analyzing, waiting. Because in court, silence speaks louder than words. "Ma'am," the judge began, her tone calm but firm, "you're being sued for unpaid rent, totaling $2,541, is that correct?" Margaret nodded. No hesitation, no excuse, just acceptance. And that's unusual. Most defendants rush to explain, they interrupt, they defend. But Margaret? She just agreed. And right there, the energy in the room shifted. Because when someone doesn't fight back, you start asking a different question. Not are they guilty, but why aren't they defending themselves? The judge turned to Daniel. "Sir, how long has she been your tenant?" "7 years. He replied quickly, too quickly. Notice that. People who answer immediately like that, they've rehearsed, they've prepared. And preparation often means expectation. He knew this moment was coming. But Margaret? She still hadn't said a word, just sat there, hands folded over her purse, eyes lowered. Almost like she was waiting for permission to speak. Or maybe waiting for the right moment. The judge raised an eyebrow. 7 years is a long time. Has she ever missed rent before? A pause, just a small one, but it mattered. Not until recently, Daniel said. And there it is, recently. That one word just opened a door, because now the case isn't about unpaid rent. It's about what changed. The judge leaned back slightly, and you could see it on her face, curiosity, because judges don't just listen to words, they listen to patterns. And this pattern didn't add up. 7 years of consistency followed by sudden failure. That's not irresponsibility. That's disruption. Something happened, and Margaret knew it. You could see it in the way her fingers tightened around her purse. Not fear, not shame. Something deeper, something heavier. The judge turned back to her. "Ma'am, would you like to explain why you stopped paying rent?" And for the first time, Margaret looked up. Her eyes met the judge's. And what the courtroom saw in that moment was not weakness. It was weight, years of it, decades maybe. She opened her mouth, then stopped, closed it again, swallowed. And then she said something that made the entire courtroom go silent. "I chose not to pay it. Not I couldn't, not I forgot, not I tried. I chose not to." And just like that, everything changed, because now this wasn't a case of hardship. This was a decision, a deliberate one. And decisions have reasons. The judge leaned forward, sharper now. "Excuse me." Margaret didn't look away this time. "I chose not to pay the rent." Calm, clear, unshaken. And here's where things get disturbing, because when someone admits guilt that easily, It's usually not the full story. It's the beginning of one. Daniel shifted in his seat. Finally, the first crack. His fingers tapped against his arm. His jaw tightened, because something about this wasn't going the way he expected. And then Margaret added one more sentence, quickly, almost like a confession. I had something more important to pay for. And there it was, the hook beneath the hook, because now the question isn't why didn't she pay rent? It's what could possibly be more important than keeping a roof over your head at 80 years old? The judge narrowed her eyes. The courtroom leaned in. Even Daniel couldn't stay still anymore, because whatever Margaret was about to say next wasn't just going to explain the rent, it was going to expose something much bigger. And when she finally lifted her purse onto the table and slowly opened it, you could hear a pin drop. Inside was something no one expected, and the moment it became visible, Daniel's entire expression changed. Panic. Real panic, the kind you can't fake. And right there, the case stopped being simple, because whatever Margaret just revealed had the power to turn everything upside down and, maybe, destroy someone in that room. Do you want me to continue to the next part?